Imagine if Amazon allowed you to, you have your profile. Here's my address. Here's my credit card number. Oh, and by the way, I want to buy net zero goods or as close to net zero as possible. Now you're not just doing price comparison, you're doing global comparisons, because that's going to change the game for production between America and China. You see, I get into the book about cost of capital. Well, America has that now. America used to have expensive electricity. Now, for example, Texas is the Saudi Arabia of wind energy. A lot of people are surprised to hear that. Electricity in Texas is about 2 cents per kilowatt hour. So you look at that, and now you have the manufacturing and the robotics. America can compete with China, pari passu, on the goods made. But here's the thing. A lot of the projects in China companies are government subsidy and, cheap labor and all that. The game is changing now. If you just put the cost of pollution onto those goods, there ain't no way China can compete. And that's a big part of what I get into at the end of the book, of the future, the next industrial revolution. And I think most people, well, who's the number one customer of China? America. Who's the number two? The European Union. And if all these Amazons, and imagine going, when you buy a bag of chips from the grocery store, it says there's this much fat. And you're like, there's this much calories. And you at least feel guilty eating that bag of chips. You're going, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. I know at least how much sugar I'm having, blah, blah, blah. Now imagine if they start, the technology's there that every product sold on Amazon, they know exactly how many tons of carbon is associated to every little gadget that they sell. Is it a coincidence that America's richest families, like the Waltons and Jeff Bezos, are also the world's largest facilitators of pollution on the planet, and they haven't paid for any of that? You don't need to be a drug dealer that consumes the drugs to go to jail. The fact that you're dealing drugs gets you to jail. And now they're going to have to pay for that. And I'm talking about things that are going to happen, but these are second order effects. The carbon credits are going to have a bigger geopolitical effect than fracking did globally. And think about what that did to the world. The Arab Spring happened because of fracking. All sorts of things changed.
Why do you think more people are not ringing this bell?
Because most of the people in the sector were altruists who were doing it for the good of the world. And they didn't have, let's say, the financial background that I did. And I was lucky enough to be one of the largest financiers in green energy. And in 2015, I try to bring as you read in the appendix, I bring up the green barrels of oil and I talk about all these deals I've done. And there just was no market for it. For example, I talk about in the book how Canada's largest green energy company, I was the second largest shareholder, and I went to one of the probably the largest oil company. At the time, they could have bought that green energy company for less than 10% of their market cap. They didn't even have to get a shareholder vote for it. And I said, you guys are crazy for not doing this. Look at my math. And they said, yeah, you're a fancy mathematician. We get it. But yeah, we don't really believe in green energy, right? A bunch of old white dudes that were stuck to doing business the way they did in the 1950s. And I said, you guys are idiots. You can get, green barrels of oil, just like I talk about in the book. Remember, there used to be barrels and then barrels of oil equivalent when they turned natural gas into barrels of oil equivalent. Well, what the hell is the difference with megawatts, right? You can turn that into a green barrel of oil. I call it a GBOE, G-B-O-E. And fast forward 6 years, the market cap of that green energy company is now bigger than the oil company. So the cost of the capital is flipped the other way. And now I'm telling these green energy companies, you should buy out these oil companies, because rather than reinvesting in the oil patch, which is called the recycle ratio, you can take every barrel of oil and commit to producing a GBOE. So every barrel of oil produced, we are going to fund a GBOE. And the green energy companies will come in, the green bonds will find out their cost of capital is going to be 1/10 of the oil patch. So what can the oil producers do to combat that? They know they screwed up. They know they missed the boat. Go to any oil company, go to their PowerPoint, right? Today's easier than ever. Go Google BP or Exxon. What are the first 5 pages? Environmental, social, governance. And they know the only way they can catch up is by reducing their carbon footprint. Well, it's either CCS, carbon capture, sequestration, or offset. Fund to someone else sucking out the carbon out of the atmosphere so you can pump it in. And that's only going to get more expensive, but it'll fast track. You put a price on pollution, it'll fast track the development of going green.
I totally agree with that. And like you said earlier, the government can talk about doing this, but the markets will certainly accelerate all of this.
Correct.
I didn't know about the green bond market and it's affecting cost of capital. That's huge.
The green bond market in the last 8 years has increased by 26-fold. It's the largest growth of any bond market in the world. Trillions and trillions of dollars on the sidelines. One of the largest holdings in the ESG ETF is Home Depot. Well, have you gone into Home Depot? Where are most of the goods made? China, right? Do you think that carbon is offset? Hell no. Like, it's almost ironic that Home Depot is in an ESG ETF, right?
Right.
But that just shows you how much money is on the table. So it's not just about the corporation being net zero. The products they facilitate have to become net zero.